welcome to American Musical Theater. We're going to be talking about the 50s and 60s in this lecture. Welcome to class. We have now entered the era where Broadway embraces new traditions and reinvents itself in the 1960s and 70s. From West Side Story to Hair, from Cabaret to A Chorus Line, it's all on Broadway. In the 1960s, the traditional Broadway musical fell out of step as rock music, the civil rights movement, and the Vietnam War had a profound effect on American culture. In the 1950s, we had glorious musicals like My Fair Lady, I Could Have Danced All Night, I Could Have Danced All Night, and Still Have Begged for More. We had The Sound of Music, Climb Every Mountain, Search High and Low, Follow every rainbow, till you find your dream. We had The King and I, Getting to Know You, Getting to Know all about you, Getting to like you, Hoping that you like me. But beginning with West Side Story, the next generation of creative talent reimagined what the musical could do. Songwriters like Stephen Sondheim, Kander and Ebb, along with directors like Hal Prince, Bob Fosse, Michael Bennett created astonishing new works, new sounds, and a bold new tradition for Broadway. What I like best about West Side Story is it's an amalgam of book lyrics, music, and dance. In the sense that it is a remarkable piece, I think what really you see that's different here is choreography. The choreography becomes a part of the storytelling. It's not just a dance that goes with the music, but it actually furthers the plot line. It's not quite ballet, and it's not traditional musical comedy dance, but you start to see action in movement. And that was what was new about West Side Story. The choreographer, Jerome Robbins, always said choreography is like an authorship in that show. I don't think all choreography always is, but certainly in that show, the marriage of dance movement and storytelling was new to the theater. Jerome Robbins was a prime example of the idea that someone could direct and choreograph a Broadway musical. They didn't have to be two separate jobs requiring two different people, but the whole thing could move as one. Other people had done it before him, like Agnes DeMille in the Dream Ballet of Oklahoma. But Jerome Robbins took it a step further. And in 1950s, he had put his mark all over Broadway. His mark was on West Side Story, The King and I, Peter Pan. And when he started working on West Side Story, adapting Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet into a musical, which you may recall is an assignment I gave you to do too, so you have a sense of how hard it is to do that, it was very difficult for them to figure out how to take this old story, older characters, things from a long past humanity, and be able to make them feel real and use the music and the dance to really bring them alive and make them, something that a modern audience could really, really relate to. Characters in musicals. So here's the first group, the Jets.
The Puerto Ricans grumble, fair fight, but if they start a rumble, we'll rumble and ride. We're gonna hand them a surprise.
And you had the Puerto Rican gang.
We're gonna cut them down to size tonight. We said okay, no rumpus, no tricks, but just in case they jump us, we're ready to mix. rock it tonight. We're gonna jazz it up and have us a ball. They're gonna get it tonight. The more they turn it on, the harder they fall. Well, they can get it. Well, they can get it. And we're the ones to stop them once and for all. Tonight.
Then we come down to the personal level.
Anita's gonna get her kicks tonight. We'll have a private little mix tonight. He'll walk in hot and tired, poor dear. Don't matter if he's tired, as long as he's here.
Then you have the lovers.
Tonight won't be just any night. Tonight there will be no morning star. Tonight, I'll see my love tonight, and for us stars will stop where they are.
The hours go so slowly, and still the sky is light. Oh, moon, grow bright, and make this endless day endless night.
So in this musical, the songs weren't just separate from the storyline, but they actually furthered the storyline. They furthered and deepened the characters. Jerome Robbins collaborated as a playwright with Arthur Lawrence and composer Leonard Bernstein. And they set this tragedy amid the warring gangs of New York City. There was one area where they felt they broke new ground, and that is the subject matter. What they began to do is have a little bit more real life on stage. It was okay to represent the ugly side of life on stage. It became acceptable to be raped, to be murdered in a musical. So you have this, the real life experience of watching real life happening on stage, and at the same time you blend in Bernstein's music, which was different from anybody who's ever written for musical theater. It's the most exciting thing about West Side Story is a vitality and energy and originality, and it says America. The show is driven by its music. It has, from beginning to end, an incredible mixture of Wagner and the mambo and Stravinsky. It's all in there somewhere. It's all part of Broadway, all rolled into one, and it packs a punch. In bringing his great talent as a symphonic composer, Leonard Bernstein made a kind of score that had rhythms that people just had never seen on Broadway. And then you have the genius of Robbins' choreography and direction. The sequences, all of it, the influences, the inspirations are still so potent today. Its clothing, its look, its style. I think that West Side Story was the forerunner of TikTok or MTV or music videos or YouTube, with its style, putting people stylized, dancing. And they're dancing in the middle of the street. They're not just dancing in a fictional place. When West Side Story opened in 1957, its reviews were mixed.
I like to be in America. Okay, by me in America. Everything free in America.
For us will be in America.
Buying on credit is so nice.
One look at us and they charge twice.
I have my own washing machine.
What will you have though to keep clean?
Skyscrapers bloom in America. Cadillacs zoom in America. Industry boom in America.
Wealth in a room in America.
Lots of new housing with more space.
Lots of doors slamming in our face.
I'll get the terrace apartment.
Better get rid of your accent.
Life can be bright in America.
If you can fight in America.
Life is alright in America.
If you're all white in America.
Broadway's smash hit that season was not West Side Story. It was actually The Music Man. In The Music Man, you had quite a different feel for the dance at the gym. Trombones, The Music Man might have been more acceptable. You know, people walk out on shows all the time, and those shows tend to be the ones that elicit strong emotion. Very often the shows that become historical, and that if you told them, you know, you were one of those people that walked out on West Side Story in 1957, they'd go, oh, no, not me. But you know, sometimes seeing who leaves and who stays can inform the creator's direction. Those who leave might not be the people you were trying to reach. Every night that a controversial show runs on Broadway, breakthroughs happen. West Side Story not only brought decidedly untraditional subject matter to the musical stage, it ushered in a new breed of director-choreographer who insisted on performers who could sing, dance, and act. West Side Story had united two ambitious and talented young friends. The 29-year-old producer Hal Prince, who wanted to direct, and 27-year-old lyricist Stephen Sondheim, who wanted to compose. And Sondheim had said, you know, I just wanted to meet Leonard Bernstein. I called Oscar Hammerstein, who was a friend of mine, and I said, you know, I don't want to do just lyrics for anything. I really want to write music. And he said, you know, I think it would be a really good idea for you to work with Leonard Bernstein, not just say hello to him. It'll frustrate you not writing music, but these are professionals and distinguished ones. Robbins and Bernstein and Lawrence and Hammerstein told him that they thought he would learn a lot, so Sondheim took the gig. He admits that he did learn a lot. He also made well-connected friends for life. The stories are true. You know, there are a lot of stories about how they would sit in Walgreens drugstore and eat bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwiches and talk about the theater. And what you found out that they would finally all work together in all kinds of shows, supporting each other in different ways. This is how the theater community works. We don't tend to actually be in competition. We usually support each other, at least on the professional level. College, community theater can be a little different. There's less opportunity, I guess, so there's more competition. But in the professional theater, you never know if the person you're working with right now is going to be the person who's going to give you your next job. So you don't have the room to be obnoxious or to be a diva that way. And it would be 13 years before Hal Prince would direct a Stephen Sondheim show, but together they would reimagine what a musical could do on Broadway. The late 1950s and early 60s produced some of Broadway's most memorable musicals. Gypsy, starring Ethel Merman as an overbearing showbiz mother. Curtain up, light the lights, we've got nothing to hit but the heights. Starting here, starting now. Honey, everything's coming up roses. Bye Bye Birdie, which was a parody of Elvis Presley and the dangers of rock and roll. There are men just ready for kissing, and it's all just waiting for you. There's a life, so go on out and get it. You've got a lot of living to do. Camelot, which was the King Arthur story, and it indelibly got linked to the Kennedy presidency. It's May, the lovely month of May, the lovely month when everyone goes blissfully astray. And How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, a satirical send-up of America's corporate culture. 1964 was a watershed year with Barbra Streisand immortalizing the role of Fanny Brice in Funny Girl. People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. In that same season, Carol Channing starred in this nostalgia, Hello Dolly.
When the whistles blow and the cymbals crash and the sparklers light the sky, I'm gonna raise the roof, I'm gonna carry.
Let me start that again. Can never get enough. Barbara.
When the whistles blow and the cymbals crash and the sparklers light the sky, I'm gonna raise the roof, I'm gonna carry on. Give me an old trombone, give me an old guitar. If all the parade passes
Had to go there. Channing played Hello Dolly on Broadway, and she was followed by a parade of musical theater legends in that title role. Pearl Bailey, Ethel Merman, Mary Martin. They all ended up bringing the show to Vietnam at some point or another to entertain the American troops. But the biggest hit of 1964, which broke a record for the longest running show on Broadway, was perhaps the most unlikely. Fiddler on the Roof.
If I were a rich man, yabba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dum. All day long I clip-it-clip-it-clop. If I were a wealthy man, you wouldn't have to work hard. Yabba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dibba-dum. Lord, who made the lion and the lamb? You decreed I should be what I am. Would it spoil some vast eternal plan? If I were a wealthy man.
Based on Shalom Aleichem's short stories depicting a Jewish village in 1905, Russia, Fiddler was the last original work Jerome Robbins created for Broadway. The key to making Fiddler on the Roof work was it was drama. I was going to say it's music. It was drawn from the music, but really it was drama. Jerome Robbins commented, I can't tell you how many meetings we had where we asked each other, what is this story about? And one of the creative team said, it's about the changing of a way of life, of a set of traditions. Robbins got very excited. And he said, well, if it's about tradition, then we have to have an opening number in which tells the audience what some of these traditions are.
Tradition! Tradition!